but do we have any birthdays coming up this week? Boy, this is a dry time. Boy, next week, oh, look out, there, start coming in again, it's wonderful. Well, I'm going to talk about giving and giving gifts. How many of you are already thinking of what am I going to give Aunt Sue for Christmas? You know, and oh no, what did I give last year? What did they give me last year? You know, we go through this whole thing about what am I going to be doing? How am I going to be spending my money correctly? What's going to happen? And we're going to talk about, quite often, the gifts you give that are the best aren't monetary. So many of you have these wonderful, wonderful spiritual gifts. What was the first gift you ever gave your mother? It wasn't that picture that you had posted on the refrigerator that you gave your mom and dad. It wasn't the little hand that you put in clay. The first gift you gave was a smile. Think of the first time, if any of you have had children, that you're holding the baby and they smile at you. Isn't that the greatest gift of love you've ever received? And how many times have you written that in the baby book or called somebody or said, guess what? She smiled at me, he smiled at me. Wasn't that wonderful? And we forget that gifts are just that easy. Gifts are giving lovingly of yourself. And hopefully this year, your best gift will be that of love. Each one of you here is interested in spirituality. Think about that. Giving spiritually is giving the gift of love, however you give it. And some of you bake things. Isn't that a gift of love?
Yes.
You know, now if you're baking and you're going, I don't want to do these darn cookies, and I don't know why I talked into doing these darn cookies, and I ran out of sprinkles and blah, blah, blah. Stop. I've told this story before. One year I was so busy. I owned a metaphysical bookstore. I was working at Lucky, and I was doing all these things. And every year I had given cookies, and I was resenting having to take time out of my busy life to bake those cookies. And a woman came in, and her husband had left her. She didn't have any money. She had 2 little kids, and it was a week and a half before Christmas. And she said, Dottie, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I said, do you bake? And she said, yeah, why? I said, I will give you $1 for a dozen cookies, and if your kids want to decorate them, go to it, and I'll buy all of the stuff you need if you will make me cookies. I have never had more cookies, because I told her, but you have to put love into them. This is not just a job. And we got stars, and we got, crescent moons, and we got the most amazing cookies. And they all, because she came from Mexico, there was all a little bit of a spice that I'd never had before in my cookies. And my friends and my relatives said, Dottie, you outdid yourself this year. You were great. And you know what I did? I just smiled. At that point in time, I didn't even give her credit. I just smiled and thought, oh good. But the next year, that's when I had my due, because they wanted cookies just like I'd done the year before. Then I had to admit, I didn't do that. Her name was Letitia. Letitia baked the cookies, and they all hired her to do the cookies. And last I heard, she's doing quite a business. And, she got her, it was either her mother or grandmother involved making tamales. And and they lived in Watsonville, and we'd go over there and get dozens of tamales and homemade cookies and the whole thing. And I felt so much better that year. I didn't have to do something I didn't want to do. And think about that this year. What is it? It's about giving love. It's not about giving resentment or anger or frustration because you have to do one thing or another. And each one of you has a gift. Janet's is art and music and all these things that I so admire. I don't do because I do them so poorly, but I really admire them. And so,
when you put yourself together with an outfit, that's art.
Oh, that's
art.
It's art.
I thought that was, because you wouldn't allow me to come naked. I don't know. Anyway, but think about, what do you do? Some people hold babies. Isn't that a great gift to a mother who's just frantic at this time of year and say, I'd like to come over and hold your baby? There's something about a woman who's had children holding the baby different than a newborn to a new mother. Think about what is it that you do. Sometimes people reading to you. How many of you enjoy being read to? Yeah, isn't that great? Sometimes it's making a tape for them and giving it to them for them to listen. And a lot of times it's visiting somebody who's sick or in the hospital. Think about what is your spiritual gift, because each one of you has something that you do. And when you think of, well, let's see, I'm going to go out and buy 25 books about how to be spiritual. And you don't read it, you just give it away. And somebody says, oh, that was a great book. And you go, uh-huh. Thank you. And that wasn't given with love, it was given with thought. But it wasn't particularly given with love. It wasn't for that special person. It was just a blanket, this is what I want to do. So I want you to all to think about, what is your talent? How many of you have helped any kids with homework lately? Have you found out that it's a little more complicated than 2 + 2 when you were growing up, you know? But they like having you sit there and help them. Even though they might be teaching you, they like having you sitting there and helping them. Think about helping, she's not here, but Reverend B. Bakley, she helps people build houses. She works for Homes for Habitat. Isn't that a loving thing to do? So many people that we have here, they text people or email people they know are lonely. That's such a gift of love. To look at your phone or look on your computer and somebody's sending you love. It doesn't start out, dear one, it starts out, dear Eileen. And it's a love note. It's not the same as getting one with a stamp on it like we used to do, but it's the same energy. Please think of sending somebody something that you know is going through a difficult time. And, one of the things I love is when people take the time out to show me something new. A new dance, play a new song for me to hear. I'm so far behind, Now you heard that story of somebody said, oh, that's great, almost sounds like the Beatles. And their son said, who are they? I had a client in my office this last week, and I said, oh, you've got the most gorgeous voice. I just love your voice. It reminds me of Johnny Mathis. And he said, who's he? And I went,
but he's still alive.
I'm going to have to use another analogy when I'm listening to people. Maybe I could have said Luther or somebody who's a little more current. But isn't it great when somebody in that energy level teaches you new things? Be open to that. Instead of thinking, oh, I know enough. No, you never know enough. You've never heard enough or learned enough. There's always something new out there. And one of these things I'm going to give you all as gifts today is be the first to go look at some of the books we have to sell. You got to pay for them, so it's not a straight out gift, but it's a preview. Because we're having a book sale that's coming up. And that book sale is where people have given the books that they're through using. And trust me, somebody else reading that book first doesn't take away the energy. It adds to it.
Especially if they've underlined it already.
Yeah, you're underlining it now, that's the same thing. So please, think about that. Oh, these are books somebody else has held and cherished. We also have puzzles, gorgeous puzzles, books on tape. And so if you get in there and kind of look them over and see what you think. It's a preview. Because next week, if you have any books at home, bring them in by Saturday so we can sort them all out. And we're going to be selling them on Sunday. And we're starting at 9 o'clock, so you can even beat the rush at 10. Okay, so please, because people giving things is so important. Whatever it is, giving time, giving books, giving energy. I was amazed. How many of you have a jewelry box? Yeah. Have you ever looked in the jewelry box and said, what am I doing with that?
Yeah.
Think about who you might want to give it to, and give a little note. To my niece, this is from your Aunt Dottie. Thank you so very much. I think you're going to enjoy it. And it's something that I've seen her wear something like that. And not wait until her birthday or Thanksgiving, just do it. I got a gift, some most amazing gift. My mother made a thing, baby blankets and quillos. And the quillo is a blanket that folds into a pillow. And she was well known. She sold them and she gave them away. And so I, as many of you know, I was gifted with a great-grandson. And so I received from a person one of my mother's baby blankets about baseball from a woman who had bought it at one of our holiday boutiques. And it's never been used. It was just something she bought to help out the boutique. And she gave it to me so that I could give it to my first great-grandson.
Wow.
And that gift means so much. What is the value of it financially? Very little. But boy, the feeling of his great-great-grandmother having made something.
It's three greats, because we're the great.
Oh, yeah. You know, great. Two great.
No, because we're the great-greats.
Okay. Great. One of those old people that's no longer here made this blanket. Yeah, so I'm going to write a little story. And the same thing as when we were talking about giving pictures. I've mentioned this before, but one of my great-grandfathers was a drummer boy in the Civil War. And I have his picture. And so, but it's fading, you know. Have the Polaroids just kind of start fading away. And his name was Cap. Poor Cap is not looking very good at this point. So we took it down to FedEx, and not FedEx, whatever, Kinko's. Yeah, and had it kind of redone. And then I'm going to put it in a little frame and give it to with the whole story. He was 8 years old. I don't know which side he was drumming for. I never found that out. And he was at Gettysburg.
Oh, wow.
And to think of listening to somebody talking to you who talked to someone who was at Gettysburg, to me that's kind of, oh. And I was talking to him and I said, Cap, what was it like at Gettysburg? Do you remember anybody speaking? Was it Abraham Lincoln? He said, no. It was this guy that got up and talked and talked and talked and talked. I don't know who he was. It was Frederick Douglass.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's who he listened to. And the fact that here's his, at that point he was 99 years old. That man remembered that.
Wow.
And I was so impressed. But the other thing that impressed me is he always had a little vest with a little pocket in it, and he carried lemon drops.
Oh.
And when he didn't have many teeth. And he would suck on those lemon drops, so he was always, I think maybe he'd smoked earlier and gave it up, but now he had his little, and he called them peppermints even though they were lemon drops. And I said, oh, hey, Cap, can I have one of those? And he goes, no, and slapped my hand. And it dawned on me, not everybody was going to give me something. You know? Yeah.
Oh, and Cap also remembered about the lemonade.
Yes. When I said, well, when you were there, did you hear about the talking? And he said, all the time I was there, it was a warm day, and people were getting really uncomfortable, and I was sweating. And the only thing I had on my mind is they said they were going to serve pink lemonade when this was over. Now, doesn't that sound like an 8-year-old?
Yes.
Yeah. It sounds like me. Most historical thing going on in my life, and I probably was wondering what I was going to eat next. So for what I'm giving my whole family is little pictures with a whole story that I know as much about Cap Tucker. And so when you think of that, sometimes giving is giving history. It's not just giving something that's monetary. It's all about giving what you have. And we know when we hear about people that do spiritual readings or spiritualist things, think about giving some of that. How many of you have family members who've never had a reading by you? Oh, yeah. And how many of you have had family members who've never really sat down and talked to you about faith? What is your faith? What is my kids' faith? I talk to them and they say, oh, I know there's a God, but I'm not sure where, and I'm fine. But they don't go in depth. Why? Because they're afraid of being judged.
Mm-hmm.
So how many of you can give love in that adversity of listening to people saying something you don't believe? Yeah. Yeah, you do, David. You give love. Because quite often people will say something and you kind of go, oh, oh no, I don't believe that. Keep it to yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not going to change their mind right then, especially if you've just met them. And maybe if you've known them all your life, you're not going to change their mind. But that, yeah, exactly. So you're not giving them a gift, are you?
No, no.
Yeah.
I always say, whatever floats your boat.
Right, right.
You know?
Yeah. So what you do, your gift is listening.
Mm-hmm.
Listening to what they have to say. Listening to who people really are. Because quite often, when we use the gift of listening, we feel like we're going to tell them our story. How many of you have done that? You're listening to somebody and you're thinking, well, they don't know, but I used to do such and such and such, and wait until they shut up and I can tell them about it. Is that the gift of listening, or is that the gift of ego?
Ego.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and that doesn't mean you have to be quiet during this talk. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to listen quietly here at this church. You can always say something back. That's perfectly okay. And when I was thinking of the monetary thing of going into debt, I have people that tell me that their credit card is so overbalanced because of Christmas. Okay, and I said, well, what did you give people? Oh, I gave everybody a $100 bill, or oh, I gave everybody, whatever it was. And I said, well, what did they do with that? So I found quite often if I give somebody money, I say, let me know what you do with this. Isn't that fun? Mm-hmm. I'm not putting strings on it. They can tell me they did anything. I'm not judging them. I just like the idea of them doing something they really get excited about. I especially do that with my grandchildren who live in Virginia. It's difficult for any of you who have kids and for our grandkids that live ways away. What do you give them when you talk to them? Say, why? What do you want for your birthday? I don't know. What are you interested in? Oh, everything. That's, because the kids I'm talking about are 9, 11, 12, and 14. They're in that age of, I don't know, I don't want to tell around much here now.
Yeah, they've been in that age for a long time.
Yeah, they have. So, if you're going to send them money, I ask, please let me know what you're doing with it, okay? So, do you all have a spiritual gift?
Well,
Yeah, everybody does.
Yeah, everybody does, don't they? So I'm going to have Corky pass out some paper. Did I give them to you, Corky?
Nope.
Oh, here they are.
Nope, I
And
haven't
this is
passed
just
out
a
yet.
quick little thing of the gift of giving, my spiritual gift. And so just look at it, and if it's one of them hits you that you want to talk about, that's fine. Okay. And now we have a gift that our wonderful Marge Powers has given us as a congregation. Marge, you want to come up and talk about this gift? I didn't want to give it before I started talking, or they would have been more interested in that than me. Okay.
I doubt it, but yes.
What'd you call it? She's the one.
Here I come, ready or not. Thank you, Susie.
Oh, well, thank you. You got that?
These are wires here.
Yeah, that's why I go this way.
Can you hear me now? Yes. I love that. This is really interesting how this just fell into place because it's directly related to what our beautiful pastor shared with us today. And I was talking to Keith, my partner Keith, a couple of weeks ago, saying, we are so blessed with the people we know, and people we've touched. The clerks in the store, family or relatives, even if they're not open to us, and naturally the community here. And I said to him, how can we give a gift to tell people, give them a gift to show them how much we care, how blessed we feel. So 3 o'clock in the morning I had this epiphany. I usually have my epiphanies at 3 in the morning. And what Keith and I did is we wrote a little book for you guys. And it includes my poems and his cartoon that directly relate directly relate to the poem. And he's going to give them out now, and I'm going to read you one of the poems. But don't go away because I have another gift. So, as he's giving them out, if you want to look at page 8, it's called I Wonder. And from my point of view, it's very much related to metaphysics and what we do here. So, as I reflect and wonder on the miraculous human condition, I ponder what influences and triggers our particular life's mission. I try to imagine the beliefs that influence and make us tick as we consider the circumstances that drive our individual shtick. I marvel at what seems to stimulate others regarding the above. Some folks have positive outlooks, strong desires to grow in love, while others concentrate and focus on all the negative stuff. They invest bad energy into hate, are mean, and treat people rough. I furrow my brow and contemplate the many logical reasons for this, like DNA, the environment, weird behaviors, or bad decisions in this. Our points of view, beliefs, brainwashing, war, poverty, and such, but we can't control these various complex situations very much. However, through exploration, observations, and a deep prying of mine, I've seen people with horrendous hardships rise above it all, so divine. And some others with fortunate and promising blessings in life feel cursed and create bad situations that only lead to stress and strife. If I didn't know any better, I would think we deliberately choose the kind of life to fit our mindset to prove that we should lose. Regardless, we don't often use the brain that we were born with to help us learn the difference between our truth and myth. Take control of your demons now. Review your past tribulations and trials. Ask how much of it was imagined, real, or maybe brought you smiles. Take time to speculate beliefs about the life you can have and be. Choose your viewpoints. Don't blame the outer world for your catastrophe. Why not trust and believe in yourself? It's the only life you're given. You are the only one who can control and make your own decisions. And here's Keith's cartoon. Some never get it right. So I thought you'd enjoy this. And another thing, I didn't think about this until last night when I read Cookie's
Insights, yeah. CCL Insights.
Yes, insight. And she was talking a lot about smiling. So, you know, I have this urge to write, because this gets it all out. And so what I'd like to do is share this with you, something to smile about and consider, because she was talking about smiling.
Oh.
So it gives you little quotations of what to look at, to lift your mood, or sometimes you're in a crappy place, because we all get that, and just read a little quotation, which is, one of them is, smile as you call a friend and tell them you decided to forgive the loan you gave them a few months ago.
Wow.
Guess how it makes them feel.
Mm.
So it's about 145 quotes. And what I'd be happy to do is email this to you at no cost if you want it. Or if you want a hard copy, you gotta charge it. Because I'm
Paper's
about
expensive.
$10 behind my budget. So it was very important for me to do this. And naturally, I don't remember if I gave this to you.
No, you didn't.
Well, here you are.
Gladly paid you. Thank you so much.
I don't charge, Dottie. So, anybody have any questions?
Do we have your email address in here?
Don't ask me how high is
Yeah,
up,
it's
I have
in
no
the back.
idea. Thank you, guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
So much. You don't have as many.
Oh,
Those
yeah, good idea.
There's only one wire on this side.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you for
much.
making that. That was so simple. And you didn't even know it.
Isn't that wonderful? Well, last week she said, oh, I'd like to give this to people. I said, let's wait until we talk about giving. And she said, okay, I'm perfect. And now, here I gave you something to mark on. I gave you a book that you have something that you can mark on. And so I'd like to know, as you're looking through your spiritual gifts, Which one do you really resonate to? Anybody really resonate to one of them? Anyone?
Of the spiritual gift,
Uh-huh.
like the one that says, good hypnotherapist?
I was talking about what's on the little yellow piece of paper, but that's great. Yes, Kelly.
Does giving warm your heart? Yes.
Yes, giving warms your heart.
Her too.
Uh-huh. How many of you giving warms your heart? Raise your hand.
Yeah.
Okay.